Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to watch the video today. Always appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about the common mistakes that most anglers make for fall time fishing, because I love fishing in the fall. It's probably my favorite time a year to fish. And there's about 4 or 5 different mistakes I see a lot of guys make that sort of undermine their success. And we're going to go over that in today's video and give you guys some tips to maybe help you guys have the best fall fishing you've ever had before. Also guys, in preparation for fall coming up, and if you guys are wanting to stock up on some tackle and get some baits for fall, I'll put my tackle warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would use and bookmark that tackle warehouse link when you have to purchase your tackle, that's a great way to support intuitive angling. And a big thank you from me and my family for everybody that's been doing that. We really appreciate it. Okay guys, probably fall, with the exception of maybe some couple week period during the springtime of the year when you have a bunch of fish up shallow. Fall is probably my favorite time to fish because there's a lot of different options to catch fish in the fall. And I sort of want to go over some little bit about what happens in the fall and about how some mistakes people make that they don't adjust to that in today's video. Now, first of all, one of the big overriding themes in the fall time of the year is this is the time of year that fish, they really like reaction baits, and they like larger reaction baits, and the slow baits don't seem to be quite as productive, with the exception of like flipping a jig. Flipping a jig in the fall time of the year is a really good way to catch them. But as far as the other slow techniques like your Carolina rigs, your Ned rigs, your shaky heads, I just haven't done that good on them. It seems like I do better in the fall time of the year on larger reaction baits. And that's one of the big mistakes that I see people make is they don't upsize their bait in the fall time of the year. They fish too slow and they don't capitalize on wind and shade. That's sort of the gist of the video I want to get into today. Now, here's the transition that happens that I think a lot of people don't make in bass fishing. It's like during the late summer and the early fall, this is a time of year that you want to fish small baits. Small crankbaits, small spinner baits. If you're pitching and flipping, flipping smaller worms or smaller creature baits, the bass really prefer a smaller bait during late summer and early fall. But what happens is during about mid-fall, when you start to have a noticeable decline in the overnight air temperatures and the water temperature starts to slowly drop, they don't have to drop very fast, but they slowly start dropping. The bass, the mood and the personality of the bass has a shift, and they start preferring larger baits during the fall time of the year. Now, I think a lot of this maybe is sort of the anticipation for winter coming up, and water temperatures are going to be colder and they're going to be a little more lethargic. You hear about this fall feeding frenzy all the time. I don't really agree with that. I've never seen like any frenzy feeding in the fall, but there is a noticeable increase in the size of the lures that they prefer. So that's one of the first mistakes I see a lot of anglers make, is they don't upsize their lures. This is a really good time of year to fish your larger swim baits, like that Megabass 6 and 8 inch mag draft, your larger glide baits. Glide bait fishing, guys, is probably the best in the fall time of the year during mid to late fall. Larger buzz baits, like a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce buzz bait works good. And also waking a big spinner bait can be really productive, as well as a full-size jig when those fish don't want a reaction bait. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you really have to capitalize in the fall time of the year, to me, it's all about a combination of water clarity, wind, and shade. I prefer fishing in cleaner water in the fall time of the year. You can catch them in dirty water, don't get me wrong, but the techniques that I really do good on in the fall time of the year, they sort of revolve around having water clarities over 3 feet visibility. So that's what I look for more than anything else. And in correlation with that, there's not another time of the year where it is more important to fish with the wind and with the shade. You have to have shade and you have to have wind to get these fish to really go on those reaction baits. So if you're fishing like a topwater lure, like a buzz bait, or a walking topwater like a Xerospook, or a spinner bait, a chatter bait, glide bait, big swim bait, or something like that, try to avoid those type of days out there that are sunny with not much wind. If you can pick the days that you go fishing, try to pick those days where you're going to have some moderate to heavy wind, and preferably some type of a heavy partly overcast or overcast, or even better yet, raining. If you sort of have to pick and choose the days you go fishing in the fall time of the year, here would be my suggestion is try to pick a day where you're going to have wind like 10 to 20 miles an hour out of the south. Preferably have the forecast where it's cloudy and maybe a chance of rain, or maybe if it's even light rain, it is even better. Go to a part of the lake where you have at least 3 foot of visibility and focus on fishing the dark areas. The dark, if it's cloudy or rainy, it expands it a little bit more, but if it's not, try to concentrate on those shady banks, shady points, any place where there's some shade, and fish those big reaction baits in those type of areas. Another thing with that, in the fall time of the year, when you have those conditions, make sure you keep your bait higher up in the water column. So if you're fishing a glide bait, a swim bait, a spinner bait, obviously top water's on top, but any type of those larger reaction baits, I don't like to fish them but over at the very most a foot under the water. Try to keep them high in the water column and try to move them at a fairly fast pace to create this reaction strike. Because when you got these water temperatures that are dropping, along with low light conditions, clear water, shorter daylight period, it's getting shorter. The daylight hours are getting shorter every day because the winter solstice is coming up in a month or so if you're fishing in the fall. All of those things play a part into getting those fish to hit large moving baits in those clear water, shady type of area conditions. And it's a great time of year to fish, man. It's like, there's a bunch of guys that, when it gets October, they got deer hunting fever and nobody fishes. One of the things I like about fishing in the fall time of the year is you have a lot less boats on the water. And I just like the diversity of techniques. There's a lot of fish to be caught shallow. There's fish to be caught deep. There's fish to be caught suspended. Bass are doing a lot of different things in the fall time of the year, but the ones that I like to target are those shallow fish that are living up there in like 5 foot of water or less with those larger baits. So anyway, that's just a few tips and tricks that I've learned for fall fishing. Shoot me some comments. If you guys have any questions, just shoot me a question in the comment and I'll do my best to try to answer them. So really appreciate it. See you guys.